I love watching our videos back. We look great. Probably a choking hazard. Don't try at home.
It's the sex ed you wish you had. Intimacy begins at breakfast.
Damn, that's hot.
The healthiest relationship on planet Earth.
Hey, we're Stace and Ty.
And we're at Punkee.
All right, first question is a hard one because I'm going to get you to try and define yourselves and what you do for work. And you have a lot of things that you do for work. So
We're still trying to work that out.
yeah. But what would you say is the lead title of what you do now?
I would say what we do is sexual positivity and taking the taboo out of sex.
Mm-hmm.
Through a very means.
Yeah.
yeah, a couple of different
multimedia
angles.
approach.
Thank you.
Production company is a very good one, actually.
The sort of point of these chats is to answer one specific question, which I'll ask you at the top of the interview and at the close of the interview to see if the answer changes. And that question is, how has sex changed your life?
Well, it's definitely opened up, I guess, an avenue to help people. That's something we've discussed quite often, is how much of an impact our own sex is having on others. By example, us having sex and doing it so, I guess, openly and freely, sort of inspiring others to do the same, and taking or normalizing it more than anything. I think it's opened our eyes, the extent of the impact that we can have with it.
I would say also personally, it's changed our lives, well, my life, can't speak for Ty, but my life in a way that has, I guess, kind of allowed me to step into more empowerment. Sex is a way that we connect as a couple. It's a way that I'm able to, I guess, express and accept all parts of myself. And so that actually was quite a long journey for me to get there. And so being able to actually accept and explore that part has been a way to kind of be confident in who I am.
Well, I'll check in at the end and see if you change your mind. But I want to wind it right back. How did you guys meet?
Well, we've known each other close to 10 years now, actually. We moved in the same circles back in New Zealand, where we both lived. We're actually in the fitness community, bodybuilding scene, and we had obviously not competed against each other, but at same competitions, moved in the same circles, and we were actually with different partners at the time, but through different events, our paths crossed, and then about 2 years ago, I slid in Stacey's DMs.
So it does work.
and now we're here.
Yeah.
What was your opening message?
I think it was something about journaling,
I
wasn't
put
it?
a story up on my Instagram about journaling or something, and Ty responded to it interested about journaling, saying that he'd heard about it and how had it helped me and what did I do. And I was like, oh my gosh, a man that looks like Ty and the kind of guy that he is asking about journaling, like, damn, that's hot. We just kept messaging, and then in messages turned into voice notes and calls, and then I was going back to New Zealand and we spent a week together, and the rest is history.
Yeah.
And was sex an immediate priority for you guys in your relationship, or was it something that brewed over time?
So we were talking for probably about 6 months before we met, and I actually thought Ty was really vanilla. I was like, there has to be something wrong with this man, because he ticked all of the other boxes and there was just so much connection, and he was such a gentleman and never said anything like over and even insinuating sex. And so I was like, man, like, there has to be something wrong. And then the first night we had sex, I was like, holy shit, okay. So it was immediate. But when we first met, it was definitely an immediate connection, and we're both very sexual, and it's a way that we can connect, among other ways, obviously. But it's, definitely immediate.
Yeah, I just made a point, to be honest, because, Stacey and I were talking over messages and it was all long distance. I just wanted to be respectful. And, I didn't want to imply anything. I didn't want to, just assume things were going to happen. And I just wanted to, meet, and then it evolved, and literally... it evolved very quickly from there, yeah.
And do you remember the first conversation you had about wanting to film sex? Like, was it always a content focus, or was it just filming for fun and then...
It was filming for fun. Yeah, definitely filming for fun. We both found out very early on that we enjoyed people watching. And it was the second time we were having sex. We were in an apartment and, the heat of the moment, and we end up mid-sex and we look out across the road. And so I think we're about 6 stories up, and directly across there was people on the balcony watching us. And it was like, initially I was like, oh no, we should stop. And Stace's like, no, it's okay. Like, All right. So, yeah, we found out very quickly that we enjoyed
Yeah.
being watched. And next thing, the camera sort of starts to get involved. And
We were already filming some of our sessions just for fun, just for us, and that was also quite early on. I think our sexual development developed quite quickly in our relationship, and we were already filming. So when we actually started OnlyFans, we already had content that we could release.
Yeah.
So
through the camera roll.
so it was something that we were already doing, and then that kind of eventuated to the OnlyFans chat.
And who brought up OnlyFans?
Ty said something, a comment in passing, and then I think it was a day or two later, I said, "Were you serious about that?" Like, I was kind of thinking about it, and then he said, "Well, I am if you are." And then we thought about it a bit because we had, professional backgrounds, and we were considering if there were repercussions and what did that mean, and is that something that we wanted to explore? And then we were like, you know what? Let's do it.
We thought it's just going to be on the lowdown, real, nothing. We popped it up, and then in the space of a week, 2 of our TikToks went viral, and it just took off.
Yeah.
So it's like keeping it under wraps was...
We thought we had a little bit longer before we had to talk to people about it.
Yes.
And so it was literally probably within the first week of launching TikTok that it went viral. And I was like, oh my gosh, I needed more time to prepare for this.
It's like, haven't planned the scripts of telling
Yeah.
the fam,
Yeah.
all of that. So how were those conversations? How did people find out in your life?
My sister called me and said she was actually worried that someone was like impersonating me. So she called and said, "Hey, just wanted to let you know that this is out there." And I was like, "Yeah, that's Ty and I."
No, that's me.
Yeah.
She's like, there's some deep fakes doing around.
Yeah. AI's looking really good. So I had the conversation with her, and then I thought, I don't want my parents to find out through other people. So I had anxiety for like a week, and I was like, so scared of them finding out. And every time mum would call me or message me, I had that feeling of like, is this it? And so I was like, you know what, I've just got to pull the Band-Aid off and do it. And so I called her and had the conversation, and she initially was quite shocked. We talked about why. And I said, didn't really think I'd ever talk to you about my kinks, but I have a bit of a kink. And she took a little bit of time to come around. Next time we were in New Zealand, my family actually sat both of us down and had a conversation with us to see how
So you
serious.
can imagine that was real fun for me
Is
with
this
Dad.
the first time you met the parents?
Not the first time, probably about the 4th time.
Yeah.
So it was pretty fresh.
What did they say? Was it like interrogation?
No, not at all. They just wanted to know that we understood the potential for repercussions and had we considered everything. They were actually really, really good about it.
Yeah.
And wanted to know Ty's intentions, like, is this a short-term relationship? So, I think it was just, I guess, as many parents would want to know, just a good conversation. And to be honest, it's actually helped our relationship because now there's no secrets. And having those tough conversations has kind of helped. So.
And now they just joke about it.
Yeah.
Stace just actually went back for a family wholesome photo shoot, and they're just joking around that, this is more clothes than you'd wear on set.
Yeah.
The Christmas card.
Yeah.
So when you were starting OnlyFans, I guess you posted and went accidentally viral on TikTok as well. But was there always a plan in your mind that it would become a business thing? Was that an intention?
We knew that there was potential for it. You hear these stories about people earning ridiculous amounts of money. So for us, there was always that thought, it could be. But it honestly was never and still is not about the money. For us, this is a genuine kink that we love, and OnlyFans gets us to the ability to facilitate that whenever we want. So it's pure enjoyment for us. And hey, we earn some money from it as well.
Well, how good is the money?
That's something we don't talk about, but it has given us options.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What work do you do outside of OnlyFans now?
Well, I'm still deep into body transformations. I coach guys to get in shape, but this has really evolved. And Stace is an intimacy coach, so she was delving into that. But this has really opened the opportunity for us to coach people in regards to intimacy from all angles. So Stace obviously deals with the mind and everything, and I now very much come from the point of view of how proper exercise, training, looking after yourself transfers into bettering your sexual performance, longevity. So yeah, it's opened other avenues as well.
Yeah. And do you find you're getting a lot of clients through OnlyFans now?
Yes.
It's
Blew
interesting
our
because
mind.
we launched a community as well that's online sex education, but we show people how to have like techniques and have good sex essentially. And so we're starting to see the worlds cross where people are coming to the community, but they're like, oh, they have an OnlyFans, and then people from OnlyFans are then also coming to the community. So it's definitely starting to intertwine. Yeah.
It's so clever.
Yeah.
It worked well.
Yeah. You're like, we surprised ourselves with how good it is.
It worked.
Do you have a all-time favorite scene that you filmed for OnlyFans?
Ty has a and this is, I'll get to the question, sorry, I'm going to go on a tangent. Ty has a background in film and media, and so the films that we have, I actually love so many of them because we make it as natural as possible, so it's not like a production, but we have like 3 cameras at any time so that we can edit and do transitions, and there's different angles, and so it's like a proper full-on production. So I just need to think of the best because there's some pretty good content out there.
Yeah. Not blowing our own trumpet, but it's pretty good. The massage scene was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was
we
good.
did. Ty gave me a massage, and so we filmed.
It was a whole little role play.
but it was like the typical like you go for a massage and then you end up having sex with a masseuse. And that was fun because it was like quite sensual to start off with. I was actually getting a massage, so I loved it. It's like, do we have to get to the next part?
It's like we've been filming for an hour and a half and we haven't done any of this yet.
Don't stop, okay. Because yes, my background is in film and TV. So, and as Stace says, we want to make it as natural as possible. We don't like the idea of setting things up and having sex for the sake of, just having sex for the cameras. We really want to make this fun all the time for us. And the easiest way to do that, is, as you guys would all know, is multiple cameras that you can cut back from. So we mark a lot of how good that scene was by what we can edit with at the end and create. So, yeah.
And so when you are filming a scene, obviously you're preparing a little bit and, production kind of vibes so behind the scenes. Is there then like a pre-hype up moment? Like how do you get yourself ready? Because like, you
do a dance?
Yeah. Like what's the song?
It actually just starts the way that normal sex would.
I think the trick is what I do is I set all the lights, cameras up well before we're going to have sex. And I try to make it inconspicuous as possible.
Yeah.
But it's not like, okay, set up, on set, let's go, turn over, action. It's nothing like that. It's like these are set and then we'll just, cameras are rolling. They even roll for quite some time before we even get into things. So we want to try to forget the cameras are there and just naturally go for it.
Do you ever have sex without cameras now?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Or our relationship is the priority. And so we want to make sure that although filming for cameras is for us as well, we do want to make sure that we have, our intimate time. Sometimes it is just for us. So definitely, yeah.
Obviously you're enjoying the stuff that you're filming because it's more naturally done. But there's definitely still a difference between like work sex and home sex.
Well, yeah, one has cameras and I guess one doesn't. But
there's not much difference.
The nature of the sex is probably the same.
Yeah, I mean, we get requests, and again, in OnlyFans, people send through requests, and we don't take them all. We're already like, hey, you into that? Let's try it.
Yeah.
So yes, there's some preparation, and that I guess is maybe a little bit different. But apart from that, it's all pretty real.
Yeah.
What's been a request that you've had from a fan that then you were like, well, that's the best thing we've ever done ever?
Ooh, that's a great question. We did a cuckolding role play.
Yeah, that's right.
So
we've had quite a few role plays.
Yeah, we have a lot of, because we're into kinks and we want to help people facilitate their kinks, we're so open to people requesting about different kinks. And we did a cuckolding role play where it was essentially I had another boyfriend and Ty was having sex with me while the boyfriend was made to watch. And that was quite fun because that kind of lent into our exhibitionism kink of someone else watching us.
He had a request that we would interact with him, as in the camera, like a POV.
Yeah.
And I had to tie him up, which was weird, tying a tripod up. But yeah, it was fun. It was a lot of fun. We lent into that quite a lot. We've had a couple of strange ones.
Not to yuck anyone's yum, but what's the weirdest?
Where it was a food fetish.
Yeah,
I didn't even know that existed. Yeah.
It was a little bit weird because Ty is ripped. And
Shucks.
Both of you are. Both of you are.
Thanks. This request was specifically for Ty to get fat and wanted to protrude his stomach. And I was like that's physically impossible for Ty.
Wanted me to act fat, like a, what was it?
Fat and lazy.
Yeah, fat, lazy king.
Like a Tyrion Lannister?
Oh, from Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
Very unsexy character.
Yeah.
I nailed that role.
So it was about feederism. So I was feeding Ty grapes, and essentially the more that I fed him, the lazier he got, and the more that we had sex, the lazier he got. And essentially it was just Ty kind of just like lying back.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm still not sure how I felt about that one. It's like,
Oh, so you did do it.
We
like,
did.
we thought I would give it a go.
Yeah,
You know?
because it wasn't like the only difference really was feeding. Probably a choking hazard. Don't try at home.
Go with the grapes with no seeds.
Yeah. To be honest, a lot of people like because we're a couple. Everything that we do is a couple. We have quite strong boundaries, and people are quite respectful with their requests. And you know, if we don't do anything completely solo, and so we say that, and so we don't actually get too many weird requests. I don't think.
We've found actually just about everybody to be very respectful.
Yeah,
that's good.
In OnlyFans, and we were expecting, anything could happen,
Yeah.
and I'm sure it does. But we've never had anyone really disrespectful at all. No.
Going off your boundaries, what did you establish before you started making content and looking at fan requests? What were your like hard no's? We're not going to explore that.
We don't bring other people in. Yeah, we don't collab in that regard at all. That's probably our biggest boundary. So everybody knew from the start. It's like, are you going to bring other people in? Anything threesomes? Like, no, we do this because we want to. It's for us as a couple. So that's our biggest boundary. So we don't have any requests in that regard.
There's a few that will want like a girlfriend experience or the fantasy of me or Ty being really into them and kind of excluding the other. And so in all our conversations and all our content, we always include each other. We're not going to give off a fantasy where I'm really interested in someone and not even thinking about my partner. So we've got strong boundaries around that. And then if it does start to get a little bit too like, or they're so focused on one person, we are honest about it. And they're quite respectful then as well. So that's probably a very strong boundary that we have.
And as Stace mentioned, we don't do anything solo.
Yeah.
We do get solo requests come through, but we're like, oh yeah, we'll do it. But the other person is involved, even if they're in the back of shot.
Hello.
Has anyone you've ever personally known seen your OnlyFans content and told you about it?
Ty's had someone.
I had my mate. He called me up and just said, he goes, so I heard you hung. I'm like, what? His wife's friend had subscribed just to have a look.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's the one that we know about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was like,
I'm sure there's plenty
I'm
others.
sure there's plenty who have signed up and purchased a vid or seen a few things. And you know what? It's fine. It's out there. But yeah, that's the one that we know about.
and obviously you guys are quite public about what you do and you've got like public Instagram profiles promoting your work as well. Does that leave you open to some like rogue questions at barbecues and things like that?
No, I wouldn't say rogue questions that kind of throw us off guard, but everyone is really interested in, hey, how's it going? Yeah, it's definitely better work stories.
Interesting because people are so more open to talk about sex when they find out what we do or they find out about intimacy or sex coaching. There's always a story for them to tell, like, oh, I saw an intimacy coach for this XYZ, or oh, I'd really like to learn about that. And so they're actually more open to talking about sex, knowing what we do. So I don't think it's more rogue questions, it's more of a curiosity and also openness, because sex can be such a taboo topic because no one talks about it, but we're openly talking about it and openly showing it. So it kind of gives people an in to then share their own experience, which I love. I love talking about sex, and I love it when people feel comfortable talking about sex as well.
But then do they try and get free advice and you're like,
Oh, yeah.
Oh yeah,
subscribe?
yeah, always.
So obviously you're an intimacy coach and you started work on that before you guys were together. How has that helped you in your own personal relationship together? Do you practice what you preach, I guess?
Absolutely. Yeah. And actually starting OnlyFans was kind of a way to take that to the next level because I was coaching women specifically about accepting themselves, getting rid of sexual shame, embracing themselves as a pleasurable being. And then I realized, hey, I've got an exhibitionist kink that I'm hiding. So that was kind of also a driver for us to start OnlyFans. With the people that I coach, a lot of it is like small habits daily for your intimacy and sex. And that's something that we prioritize every single day. So I feel like I can't coach something unless I'm doing it myself.
Yeah, of course. And for people who don't really understand fully what an intimacy coach does, what do you offer like clients, I guess?
So intimacy is a very broad umbrella term. So that could be around confidence in the bedroom. It could be if there's relationship issues. A lot of the time it will be working with people on how they are in a relationship. A lot of people have unresolved trauma, and I don't mean like big T trauma. I mean they get really defensive when their partner says something and it's causing friction in a relationship. So really understanding, I guess, the people's mindset and backgrounds and how it's impacting their relationship, but as well as it's like sex coaching, how to be better and more confident in bed, different techniques we do in our community, and then also mindset and I guess like a full holistic personal development, but focusing on intimacy and relationship.
And what's the most common issue for women who come to you individually and also couples that come to you together?
Women, a lot of the time, they have very low sex drive, or they feel not confident in themselves, and it's having an impact on their relationship. A lot of women don't realize that we have like a responsive sex drive. So a lot of them feel like, I should always feel like sex, or when my partner wants sex, I should want it, and they start to kind of get down on themselves, and so it's a lot of working around that. And couples, often it is around sexless or no intimacy. They've kind of in that roommate phase where they coexist rather than we're a relationship. And
they feel like they've lost the spark, and the great thing is that they want it back.
Yeah.
And they're willing to do the work. I've actually found with guys, a lot of them, they carry this sort of, well, maybe guilt's a little bit harsh, but they feel like they've dropped the ball, which is actually really, eye-opening, because a lot of guys don't talk about it, but they feel like they dropped the ball with themselves. Their wife isn't attracted to them as much anymore. And that's how I've sort of discovered this through, coaching through physique changes and how much more confidence they can bring into a relationship because of the changes that they made just from a health and physique point of view. But yeah, it's quite interesting how it all transfers over into the intimacy side of things as well.
When you're surrounded by those conversations all the time, like you must make you so aware if like there's any sense of change with you guys to talk to each other.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yep.
The healthiest relationship on planet Earth. Obviously, you demonstrate a lot of your work with like shooting sex and showing how it can be done. Do you now think that intimacy coaches and people who work in this space who don't do that are kind of like half-assing the service?
It's funny because not half-assing. Everyone has their niche, and everyone works the way that they want to work. But we see whether it's a competitor or another resource, I'm like, yeah, but you're not actually showing them how to do that. So how are they going to know?
I remember growing up and looking at Men's Health magazines and, the sex articles of, how to get your woman to orgasm and things like this. And I'm just a teenage boy. And I am trying to decipher from little diagrams and, just paragraphs. Yeah. How does it actually even work? So that was a big thing. It's like, what if we actually just showed it? We talked about it and we literally showed it. And the response that we've been getting back from people is like, that's game changer. Thank you. Yeah. Just no guesswork anymore. It's like, I know exactly what you're talking about because I'm watching it.
Yeah. It's like a really hot textbook.
It's the sex ed you wish you had. Yeah.
What's your dynamic or I guess opinion of people who create sex content purely for entertainment that don't have a kind of educational side to it?
I don't think there's anything wrong with it at all. Porn is entertainment. If it can be taken wrong, if you're taking that as a literal how-to, then you're using it the wrong way. But we truly believe that if you view porn as entertainment, it's fine. So these people creating that content, they're entertainers.
Your audience is a hearty mix of women and couples. Is that the same on OnlyFans? Like that's like where your core
Yeah,
are?
we were so surprised when we joined OnlyFans, and a lot of our subscribers are women and, as you say, couples. And we didn't expect the amount of women to be following us. And I mean, women like porn as well, right? And a lot of traditional porn is for a male gaze. It's and so it doesn't have a lot of the elements that our content has in it, and so that's why I think it appeals so much to women. We're a genuine couple who love each other, who have great sex, and I get focused on rather than just the man's priority in our videos as well. So I think women like that, and they can kind of place themselves in that position. And then obviously Ty's great to look at. So if I was a woman, I'd want to watch that as well. I mean, if I
We have had a couple of comments saying it's like watching an erotic novel. So it's like bringing
book
that
talk.
to life.
Yeah, that's a great reference quote for
Yeah.
you.
We're like, we're going to use that.
yeah.
Are you disappointed that there's not more solo guys watching the content?
Oh, no, they're there.
Oh,
They're
okay.
definitely there. They're definitely there. But I would say 50-50.
We appeal to a lot of different people because we've also got Ty. We have a lot of gay men who watch and consume our content.
Yeah.
So we've got couples, we've got straight men, we've got gay men, we've got women. We've got it for everyone. So
Kinks are obviously such a huge part of sex and something that you guys talk about a lot, but there's so much shame associated with a lot of them. What kinks are your clients like most hesitant to talk to you guys about? Clients and fans.
I think the cuck. Yeah. Or hot wifing. Where
Sorry, what is hot wifing?
sorry, yeah, don't worry. I was new to this world once as well. Hot wifing is, as I understand it, is where a couple, wife and husband, and he is more than happy to share his wife with other men. Generally in group environments, from what I can understand. And there's a lot, there appears to be a fair bit of shame around that. Like, guys don't want to talk about that if they're into it, but they felt really comfortable saying, hey, I'm actually into this. It took me a lot to kind of accept that this is my turn on, my kink. So I think that was, I know from a guy's perspective, we've had a couple that have just been like, it's so nice to be able to talk to, somebody, even if it's just, via messages.
But I think there's a lot of stigma around kinks in general. I wouldn't say there's any one in particular where it's more prominent. It's kinks as a definition is something outside of the norm, right? And so if we feel like we're into something that's abnormal, a lot of people feel like they can't talk about it, or what's wrong with me for liking that? What does that mean about me? And so it's really refreshing to be, or creating an environment where people feel comfortable to talk about that. So I wouldn't necessarily know if there's one more prominent, but kind of just kinks in general.
I mean, it's pretty special that you guys have made such a safe space for
Yeah.
people to come to you to talk about it and also watch
Yeah,
and everything.
it's awesome. That's one thing we actually feel really wholesome about in amongst all this.
How has sort of making sex content changed your relationship to sex personally?
I find I actually enjoy it more. And obviously I'm able to explore a kink through that. So that's one of the reasons. But it's made me explore more and be more comfortable exploring and own my sexuality more than anything. Especially when I was like mid-20s, I always felt like sex was for my partner. I never really spoke up about what I wanted, and I felt bad receiving, and it was kind of something that I just did for the sake of doing. And now it's like, no, I get to enjoy this too, and this is something that I get to share with the person that I love, and it's like, yes, we do it for content, but it's also allowed me to explore a lot more of myself sexually.
That's pretty impressive that like performing porn has made you less performative in sex.
It is. Well, I think also because getting feedback from other people, like you never see other people have sex, right? And or people see you have sex. And then once it's out there, people are like, oh my God, that was so hot. I loved it when you did this. And so it's like boosting your confidence, like, oh yeah, that's cool. Like I love watching our videos back. We look great. So I think that's actually helped me be more confident.
I think for me, it's been actually having a partner that has constantly been sexually developing and becoming more and more confident. I've always felt in the past that I've always had a higher sex drive than previous partners, but Stace is just... this environment as she's developing all the time, and it's like, I got to keep up. And I love it.
What does a normal like 24 hours in the life of Stace and Ty look like?
Okay, we've got a lot going on. It's not all sexy. It's a lot of work. I still do body transformation coaching. I still got a ton of clients with that. We have the community, and there's shooting content for that. And this is just not it's not all just sex. It's a lot of sit-down education, pieces of material. There's a lot of editing. We've got an external editor that we work with on that as well. And then, yes, there is the OnlyFans. So I would say a typical 24-hour period is a lot of work, training, and then probably sex at some stage.
Yeah, and the work could include, like for the community, it could be filming, it could be researching, it could be writing topics, planning, and then there's obviously the messaging our fans. We do that all on our own. So messaging, social media is a huge thing. So
I forgot about that beast.
You have to be across all the platforms. So it's thinking of content, filming content, posting content. We actually feel like a production media house sometimes because of the amount of different pillars that we have and different platforms that we have to create content for. And then I also do work in organizational psychology, so I have that. And then, training.
Then it's sleep time.
About it, yeah.
Yeah, there was no meals in that. Like there's the ad.
I know, Ty cooks all of
toilet
those.
breaks.
Right?
Like, do you feel like having so much of your work like centered around your relationship puts a lot of pressure on your relationship? Does that make you nervous as a couple?
I can see how, just you asking that question. Yeah, there could be, but I've honestly never felt that at all.
So we've spoken about me like focusing just on our business, and there was a moment of like my whole life then, all my work, everything is going to be focused on our relationship. And Ty said, does that bother you? I'm like, nah, that's exciting. We work from home, so we're together a lot. We work together a lot. And so I don't feel like there's pressure. We just need to make sure, and we're very conscious of making sure that we always take time to connect throughout the day. So it's not just we're working.
But that's a lot of practicing what we preach.
Yeah.
Like Stace was saying, it's just taking those moments in the day to have a hug, a genuine hug. Just check in. She might be across the table from me, for the last 8 hours, but hey, how you doing? It's just doing these little things to, throughout the day that you make sure that you're not just workmates or work colleagues. We have routines as well where we go for our morning walk, every single morning, walk the dog, and that's our connection time. We often train together as well. So, I think the big thing is just also taking the time out completely away from work for us. And that's probably our biggest challenge, that one. Just simply because we don't have enough time.
Yeah. We I wouldn't say it's pressure. We enjoy it and it excites us. So, yeah.
And what does the next 5 years, 10 years look like for you guys?
Depends when I get the ring.
Yeah,
So.
I wasn't going to say it. I was like, is it happening? What's going on?
I see what's going on here. That's good. That's good.
We had a tip off before.
Sorry.
Well played.
We would love to grow the community. We have really big aspirations for building that out. We want to bring out, and we're working on specific programs to take couples through. So that's a real big focus for us.
At the moment, I'll just jump in there so everybody gets a full grasp. At the moment, the community is an information hub. It's a lot of information in there, different courses, techniques, topics that we discuss. And we've seen from the amount of content that's in there, and we keep popping in there, that people are going to get lost. It's going to be a massive amount. So we are starting very soon to develop individual courses to help couples, whether it's get the intimacy back, what kink is right for you, take them through a 6-week kink course, all these things. So we do have big plans in that regard. Sorry, I just wanted to clarify.
No, perfect.
Yeah.
And then for OF, we're going to keep doing that until it loses its fun, I guess.
Yeah.
The moment that it starts to feel like work and we're like, oh, we've got to film, then that
We're
for
out.
us, is up. So don't know when that will be. Maybe it's never. Maybe it's in the next year. We'll just see how that feels.
I feel like a lot of OnlyFans creators that I talk to, I'm like, retirement. And they're like, no.
Yeah.
No, this job's too fun.
Yeah.
If you could tell everyone in the world one thing about creating sex content, what would you want it to be?
To create it, I would say to make sure you're staying authentic to yourself, because I could see how easily it would be to be swayed if you're making really good money to be like, oh, okay, $1,000, yeah, fine, I'll just do this 10-minute video. But what's the impact of that on the other side? So be really strong in who you are and be happy to say no. Sometimes the money just isn't worth it. And I think that's something that we've done really well, is just be authentic to ourselves.
I think we have an advantage though doing it as a couple because we
Mm-hmm.
get to check in. We got anchors. We're the anchor, check in, are we okay? And yes, as Stacey says, if you were solo, you could easily lose yourself in it. Being authentic is huge. Next thing would be take the time to check your background when you are filming. There is nothing worse than a cupboard that's half open or a curtain that's offline or there's a drink bottle in the background. It's like, we are shooting that again.
We are so particular, and we've seen some content, and like, I can't see anything else. Like, you could be doing something so hot, and all I'm seeing is like the cat on the bed, or like there's just mess in the background. So yeah, that's a big one.
Obviously, you talk about intimacy and couple dynamics all the time. What would be like your best piece of advice for couples?
From a guy, giving a tip here, my biggest one is please realize intimacy begins at breakfast. Okay, it's not, women do not have a switch just to turn on. It's everything you do. So how you treat her right at the beginning of the day is, you're not doing that because you want an end outcome. It should never be that, but put in the work from the moment you wake up. And you do that, I doubt you're going to have much intimacy problems.
Just realize what you have. It's so easy to get caught up in, oh yeah, they're just there and they're going to be there tomorrow and the next day, and I don't need to focus on them. If you think of a day where they're not here and you are like, oh my gosh, that will hurt so much, like, make the most of what you've got right now and never forget what you've got. I often say to clients, take it back to the beginning and do the things that you started to do when you first started dating. What were they? Were you flirtatious? Were you sending messages? Were you giving little hugs? Like, bring those little things back, because those little things then add to sexual tension and intimacy, but we just forget the small things. So I always say, yeah, remember what you've got.
I'm going to bring it back to the first question to end the chat, because we've obviously just been stewing on sex topics for like an hour now. I want to ask you again, how has sex changed your life?
I think my answer's going to still be the same. Yeah, it's made me more confident and accepting of who I am. Now I'm more excited about it because I've been talking about it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm realizing just talking back how much opportunity, isn't it, in reaching people and helping them just to get comfortable with it, to take the taboo out of it. It's cool. It's exciting.
That's so good. Yeah. And the fact that you had similar to the start of the question means that you already know. You know how important this is.
Yeah.
Hey guys, thanks heaps for watching. For more information, or if you'd like to follow us, please go check out Under the Sheets Community. You can find that at
underthesheets.co.
And to see spicy content, follow us on OnlyFans at
Hot Couple on Show VIP.